What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have a lot of information to go over in today's video. The market was down about 2.5%. We saw some huge names like Tesla and NVDA down over 8%. The NASDAQ alone was down around 3.5%. The market just got smashed today. In this video, we're going to be explaining why, and then more importantly, we're going to be going over the plays that we like for the rest of this week and then next week. So if you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. But Tom, what went on today?
Yeah, this was a humongous drop in the market, and this was actually because the 10-year Treasury yield jumped to the highest level in more than 4 years, and the Treasury yield topped 1.49% today and went even a little higher than 1.5%. And the SPY just hated this news, as you can see, crumbled throughout the day down to negative 2.4%, like you said. It did kind of start to bounce back up at the end of the day, but all said and done, the market did pretty bad. You can see it did bounce off of some key supports and resistances throughout the day while it was falling. But other than that, it was just pretty much all movement to the downside. The VXX, which follows the VIX, is also up quite a bit as well. The VIX index itself is up 33%, which is nice to see. But that shows a lot of volatility came into the SPY today. And this continuation could definitely still happen tomorrow. What are your thoughts on it?
I think that's a great point, and I'm super glad that you brought up what the VIX did today, especially the VIX index. So like you said, this thing is up 34% today. That is a huge it's a huge increase, right? And really what it shows is investors are actually taking this drop pretty seriously. It shows that options prices are getting, they're getting expensive. And even if we look at the VXX, that was up around 16% today. So people are bidding up those put options, and it just definitely shows that people are definitely respecting this drop. The way it looks right now, it looks like the market's going to keep falling, but with the way the market's been for the past couple months, it seems like every time we have a drop, somehow some news comes out of nowhere and brings the market right back up, right? So I don't know. We are in a tricky situation, but the way it looks right now, I'm kind of leaning towards the downside.
Yeah, me too. And it looks like we're hovering around the 382 to 380 support here. If we can break 380, I think that would be awesome on the SPY to the downside. Let's go to the daily chart and see if 380. 380 poses a pretty good support in the past on the short term and the longer term. We can see back on like January 6th and the 7th, it was really close to 380 as well, and that ended up going down a little bit. So hopefully we can see kind of like a little bit of a rise, or a little bit of a drop through 380 over the next couple days. I think that would be a good play in the cards. Normally, whenever we have a setup like this, it does continue and end up breaking down below. It doesn't usually retest lows like this and then actually start to pop back up after retesting highs the way it did.
Gotcha. So we have to look at NVIDIA, right? This thing is down over 8% today. And I was looking a little bit into their earnings, and their sales were up 61% year over year. So what's going on with this stock?
Yeah, the stock actually, you can see initially it popped off the news and then it ended up tanking in after hours and then still tanking down today. Like you said, down 8%. This was actually because, like you said, they had great sales, up 61% year over year. But the thing is that the CEO also came out and said that he doesn't expect their sales to graphics or to cryptocurrency miners to grow very much. And that's the big thing, is that a lot of people were expecting that the new graphics cards that they came out with were going to be bought up by a whole bunch of cryptocurrency miners. But if the CEO does not expect a big growth in that sector, then that might not happen. And, cryptocurrency mining is not what it used to be. You used to actually be able to mine Bitcoins and things like that. But nowadays it takes so much processing power that it's almost not even worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And then I was also reading that they had record gaming sales and then flat data center sales too. So at the end of the day, they actually reported some pretty solid earnings. But, we're in a type of market where, you can report great earnings and fall. I mean, look at Amazon. I think they reported like the largest revenue quarter ever, and they actually fell in earnings too. So we're in quite a crazy market right now. And, they're down 8%. If we look at AMD, they're down about 5.5%. So it's really just some crazy movement. And we're seeing a lot of volatility in the markets right now. But I know Boeing just exploded yesterday and it pulled a complete 180 today. What's going on there?
Yeah, they've actually had a lot of problems with their jets. And like we saw, they had a problem with their engine. But even though they had a problem, it went up because it wasn't really their fault. But the FAA did fine Boeing today $6.6 million for failing to comply with a 2015 settlement and also safety issues. And the FAA said on Thursday that they fined Boeing $5.4 million after Boeing failed to meet terms of that settlement, and another 1.21 million to settle two enforcement cases. So that's the reason I think Boeing ended up falling today. 6.6 million is not too much for Boeing by any stretch of the imagination, considering how much profits and stuff they can make off of those jets. But I will say though that also, them getting fined could also be the start of maybe more fines. And also, if problems keep persisting, you could see fines coming there. And also, it just also makes people not want to buy those jets whenever these problems and then these fines come in, especially when it's fines for safety issues.
Yeah, so it was a 2015 lawsuit, you can say. Overall, I'm just looking at Boeing intraday, and they got rejected really hard off that $230 level. So I think it's a combination of the bad news, the rejection off of that resistance, and then also just the negative sentiment in the market right now. I mean, today was a pretty important day when you look at like the daily chart and you look at the VIX. Like, you don't see the VIX index up 35% every day. Like, that's a pretty crazy move. And I think investors are definitely at least hedging their portfolios right now. I mean, it's definitely something to note to see the VIX up this much. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And then also Redfin got destroyed today, which was interesting to see, down 19% on these earnings. They had a 0.11 EPS versus a 0.049 estimate. So they actually beat on their EPS, but man, they still ended up tanking.
For sure. Down almost 20% in a day. That's pretty crazy. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do have a little bit of a continuation from this move over the next couple weeks or even the next couple months. And I would love for Redfin to get down to that like $60 level, maybe grab up some shares or so, maybe some cash secured puts. But do we have any other major earnings for tomorrow? I think we have DraftKings, right?
Yeah, DraftKings is going to be reporting tomorrow, as well as Kronos, which is going to be a big marijuana stock as well. But let's go look at DraftKings and see what it looks like here on the daily chart heading into earnings. And it looks pretty negative here, pretty much with the market today. It did kind of double top here around 65, and it failed to break that on the Super Bowl movement. I would say, a lot of people expected that to kind of go through there. It failed to do that. And now I think we might be turning to the downside here, especially with the market going down. And man, I'm not sure what they're going to report on these earnings, but it might not go too well for them. Nobody knows what's going to happen, though. I think it's a complete 50-50.
Well, Tom, with this market, they might kill earnings and then fall 12%.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they report like $1 billion earnings, then they fall all the way down to $49 tomorrow.
Yeah, we're in a crazy market. But with that being said, let's get right into our member of the day and then the momentum plays. So for today's member of the day, we have Bill W. So huge shout out to Bill. Thank you so much for all of your positivity on the YouTube videos. We see you're always leaving positive comments and asking great questions. So huge shout out, Bill. We really appreciate it. And now let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we're looking at Facebook to the downside. So this one was down a little over 3.5%. I'll tell you, it's not looking too good.
Yeah, make them fall below the $254 support.
Sounds good. With the next one, we have MGM.
MGM, yeah, this stock was doing pretty good, and now it's starting to head to the downside, popping below the 1,000 SMA, which is always nice to see. Make them fall below 36.40.
All right. And then we have Redfin also to the downside.
Yep, Redfin, bad on those earnings, make them fall below 72.60.
All right, so we are eyeing all these plays for potential continuation plays tomorrow. Just quick day trades only if they break below the levels Tom listed. But now let's get right into the $16.8 million trade for tomorrow. So we are looking at the Amazon 3,150 strike calls. They expire tomorrow. There was about, basically just under $17 million put into this play. It's about $100 out of the money. Amazon's down about 3.5%. I have to say that they're shorting these calls.
Yeah, I would have to say so as well. And man, we've had this wedge on Amazon here for a few months now. And man, you can see it popped above the wedge and was kind of holding it and bouncing above it. And then it actually fell right through it today. And now it's heading to the downside. And that would be a pretty scary thing if stocks like Amazon start to really fall out. And if it falls out of this wedge a lot, it could fall down below 3,000, possibly to like 2,800 or lows around 2,850, I would say. But I think that that's a pretty realistic level, honestly, given how much Amazon's went up over the past few years. Like we can see Amazon's been a powerhouse, pretty much just either flat or straight up. And pretty much a lot of these stocks that do this, I mean, they're due for pretty big drops, I'll say. And man, I mean, I would not be surprised if Amazon started to really fall off the table. That's a pretty big long-term technical that it broke below today. And it's just getting pretty scary looking, especially on the daily.
For sure. I mean, look at these tech stocks. Like a couple months ago, everyone thought Apple, Square, Amazon, Google, and they're all just flying up, right? But now you look at them and they're just kind of they're lagging actually. Like we saw the Dow explode yesterday, like Caterpillar skyrocketing. We look at Apple recently; it's been kind of just doing nothing or falling. You look at Facebook and Microsoft and Tesla, and even if you look at the ARK ETF, ARKK, this thing's down around just under 20% in the past 2 weeks. So, the tech sector is looking a little shaky right now. It's definitely not the best.
Yeah, and CNBC even reported that this sell-off could be the Kathy Wood sell-off after ARKK bought up all these tech stocks, and now all the tech stocks are starting to fall. And they're just saying that it could be the Kathy Wood sell-off. It's a pretty funny name, but Kathy Wood has been pretty good, obviously, over the past few years. But right now, the stocks are taking a little bit of a hit, but she did buy up some more stocks, which is good to see as well.
I think it's also just how these tech stocks move. I mean, if we look at the ARK ETF, ARKK, this thing went from about $33 to $160 in less than a year. So if you're going to have that type of growth, you have to also be prepared for big drawdowns like this. It's just the nature of the beast, I mean, sometimes for the most part, the industry does pretty well, this tech industry, but it also has some pretty hard pullbacks. So it's just something you have to be prepared for. So now let's get right into the questions from the previous episode. With the first question, we have Peter saying, "Hey Mike, can you take a look at F? I'm wanting to pick up shares of it for the long term. I see it approaching the $13 level, which for me is a major price pivot point to the upside." So Tom, I know you actually follow Ford a little bit. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's actually looking pretty good. It broke above that high yesterday and then this morning as well, around 12:13. I thought that was a pretty good break, but now today it came back below. If the market starts going down, Ford could start to go back down. Ford was an amazing play at these lower levels. A lot of people knew that they were going to innovate and kind of get into that EV market, which would kind of help all these automobile companies. And you can see it is helping Ford in the shorter term. I think that is very good for Ford. But in the short term, I think they could be due for a little bit of a pullback, especially if the overall market starts to come down. Obviously, I think Ford, GM, and all those companies will go down as automotive sales will also go down. Whenever we see bad economies, like in 2008, keep in mind a lot of companies like General Motors and Ford had to get bailed out by the government and take a lot of money to even stay open, or else they wouldn't even be around anymore. Tesla and some of those companies might have actually taken over back then, or Toyota, but the government ended up bailing them out. And if a bad thing happens in the economy again, that could easily happen again with all of these automotive companies. But it's good to see them going up though with the EV stocks.
Yep. With the next question, we have Santana saying, "Hey guys, thank you for the amazing content. Can you please analyze FSLY?" So if we take a look at this one, went from about $10 to $136 in the past year. It's just been channeling right between, you could say, around $70 and $110 for the past, the past, 6 months now. So overall, it looks like a pretty good range. And if you can scoop it up around $70, maybe probably even 60 or 55, that can be great. Overall, I like it for the long term. I don't love it though. What do you think?
Yeah, it's actually starting to look like it might fall below that support around $70. Like you said, that's going to be a pretty key level here. If it does fall below that, obviously don't try to bag hold this. I would get out of it. Don't hold it down into $40 or $20 levels unless you really like it, or unless you have it already at a lower price. But just keep in mind, puts might be good on this in the shorter term, but it is at that support. if it does break below like $70, I think it could be a great play.
Sounds good. With the next question, we have Ripcord saying LMT is a solid long-term hold. So, Tom, I know you're actually a pretty big fan of this one. I see it's making higher lows on the daily chart, which is always good to see. What are you thinking?
Yeah, the higher lows are nice. It is on that 1,000 SMA as well. But if the overall market does go down, expect a pullback with this. LMT might go down, Boeing might go down as well. Those are two stocks that I like. And I do like Lockheed Martin. But if the overall market pulls back, let's just say, 10 to 20% or something, I think Lockheed Martin could easily pull back that much as well. But it's a good stock to average into. It is a pretty high price stock, though, up at 341. But they are pretty safe as well over the longer term, and their dividend is also pretty safe.
Sounds good. Well, Tom, do you have any last-minute stocks, options, or any insight for the market for tomorrow?
Yeah, the last stock I'm going to talk about is VXX, and man, this stock really killed it today. This follows the VIX, which was up 33%. VXX was only up 16%, but it still moved very well today. It actually moved above a key resistance, which was $16. It hit that and then ended up falling midday and breaking out all the way up to 17.20. And man, this stock just had some killer movement on it. A lot of people are expecting it to keep going up tomorrow, but we'll just have to see what SPY does overnight. But the main things I'm going to be watching are VXX and then just the SPY overall. The SPY overall had a pretty bad day today. Watch for support around 385.50. I think that's going to be a pretty good level. It hit that today, which is this thicker blue line I have here, and then kind of went back up. 382 would also be a pretty good support.
All right. Well, we are definitely in some interesting times right now in the market. We have a lot of exciting things going on. I'm very excited to see how this week ends for the market. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. And if you guys like the video or gain some value from it, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment. It really helps us grow the channel. But other than that, thanks for watching.